Thank you, everybody, and welcome to this session where we talk about efficiency with Amazon Transcribe and Amazon Translate. We're also live on Twitch, so welcome everybody on Twitch. If you have questions on Twitch, I have some colleagues who monitor the chat there, so you can ask those questions there and hopefully we can answer them. If not, I will take a look at them later after the session. So who of you does know what Transcribe and Translate do? Who uses them? Not many people? Okay. It's always good to know so I know where I should start, essentially. Let me start with describing the AWS machine learning stack. I think you have seen that picture today before, so you know most likely the different layers. And we are, in this session, talking about two of the higher level services, AI services, Transcribe and Translate, starting with Transcribe. That means that you are not building the machine learning model. You are just using a service, a managed service by AWS. So the usage is very easy. It's just an API that you can call, and that's the easiest way to start using machine learning on AWS. And about the other layers, especially SageMaker, I will talk more about tomorrow, and about how to run TensorFlow, for example, or MixNet on AWS using SageMaker. So let's start with Transcribe. Amazon Transcribe is a service that allows you to take audio or send audio to Transcribe and then generate text, basically get a transcription of the audio from the text on high level. So why is that something that we need? Why is that important to us? It's because the current environments that we have or analytics tools don't allow us to make good use of audio files. So if you want to get the sentiment out of an audio file, you first would transcribe it into a text, and then you can feed it into your machine learning algorithm or into Comprehend in order to understand the sentiment. So when you think about a call center, if they want to understand the sentiment, meaning how well the customers or happy the customers are at the end of the call, or how happy or unhappy they are at the beginning of the call, you, in order to automate that at scale, you would need to first transcribe that into text and then basically understand if they are happy at the end or not, and then you can act on that. So in order to get something meaningful out of the audio, you would, at least for most use cases, first need to get it into text. For meetings, for example, you can think of getting the audio for the meetings and then making it easier searchable, for example. And we go a little more detail into that. When you think about video, if you want a subtitle, you can do that with this service as well. So these are solutions that you can think of. You can get more customer insights. For example, when we look at the sentiment analysis, or when we think about the calls that you receive, or you can even automate some aspects of that as well. So, and once you have those insights, once you have the data, once you can analyze it, then you can subsequently optimize your processes. You can look at the calls where customers were not happy, why were they not happy, how can we improve on that, how can we identify that with customers earlier, and then you can profile customers. You can then, once you understand a little more about the customer, advertise more targeted to those customers. And you can then search the text information and then go back to the audio, so basically can link back to the audio, let's say to conferences, for example. And what Transcribes allows you to do is you can do that with multiple languages. So we support 2 at the moment. if you need more languages or if you have a specific use case for other languages, then please let us know, because that's the thing with AWS or Amazon in general is we need the customer feedback. So let us know when you need a language that's not supported, and then that can bump it to a higher priority on the roadmap. So that's always important. Let us know what you need. Transcribe also has intelligent punctuation that helps with the further processing. If you have a translation or transcribe mechanisms that does not have good punctuation, then it will make it harder for the subsequent processes to make sense of the data. We generate timestamps for all the words, actually. So that is necessary if you have video and you want to subtitle the video, then you need the timestamps in order to align it with the video. It also makes it easier to find something if you have long audio files. We support telephone audio because that's a big use case, as I mentioned, the customer call centers. And we can recognize multiple speakers. So there are actually two different mechanisms how we can associate speakers to the actual audio. So you can have multiple channels, or we can have a smart mechanism that tries to identify the speaker based on different characteristics of the voice. And you can provide a custom vocabulary. And when we have enough time, I'm going to show you a small example that I just ran. So when you have a specific domain, or you see Transcribe not identifying certain words that are important for your domain correctly, you can upload a custom vocabulary. Super simple, it's just a text file or CSV. And then that will help comprehend to better identify those words. So it's basically, to some degree, updating the model that's behind this and making it a little smarter for your use case. So we have high support or wide support of audio, so the 8 kilohertz ones, and we have different formats. The better the input, the better the output, as always. So when you use FLAC, for example, usually you will get a better output when you have lower quality MP3, for example. So that's something to keep in mind. This is a timestamping, and we also have a confidence score that we are all here on machine learning days, so you know about the probabilities and the confidence score. So the more confident the system is in the word that it did transcribe, the higher the score, obviously. And keep a look at that. So if you see lower confidence, then you may want to take a look at that. Here's an example for punctuation support. So the lower sentence is just easier to understand and make sense of in subsequent downstream systems. So that's cool. And the speaker attribution, that's where we try to identify speakers based on the tonnage or the channel, actually. This is the custom vocabulary, so you can upload that. One use case I mentioned is the call centers. So you can just feed it with the recordings, also from Connect. And you can then, once you have it transcribed into text, analyze it with Comprehend, like Randall did show you. So you know the sentiment, which is important, or you know the key phrases, or you get the entities that are talked about in that. Then later you can visualize it in QuickSight. I think Randall showed that just now, right? Did he show QuickSight? Yeah, okay. So yeah, this is basically one aspect to feed in the flow, so you can do that with audio. Another use case is transcriptions or subtitles for content, for VOD content. So you can just feed it some video, and then you can just have your subtitles. And you know about Translate as well. So you can, once you have the text, let's say English, then you can translate or use a Translate service to provide subtitles in different languages. Yeah, and because we have the timestamps, it's easy also to align it. Cool. Yeah, and this is for meetings. So very often, I did attend meetings where not everybody did take notes, or actually we did not have notes. And this helps. So you just record the meeting when you have multiple channels in the meeting, when you have audio that has multiple channels, or when you have audio. Then Transcribe will also try to identify the speakers, which is important when you have a meeting. You can think of use cases where, for example, you take meetings and then you have certain key phrases and then generate action items out of those. And you would need the text information for that, obviously. So this is a very interesting use case, I think, because it makes it easier. And later, you can search for content when you're thinking, okay, this meeting, did we talk about this and that? And then, okay, you search for that, and then it's easier to look up. Sorry, did you have a question? Works on live feeds? The question is, does it work on live feeds? So at the moment, Transcribe is an asynchronous service. So you basically start a job, point it to the audio on S3, and then it will process the audio and spit out or write the S3 to an S3 bucket as well. So we'll output the JSON output format. So it's not live at the moment, but exactly, yeah. So that's good customer feedback, and we heard that from other customers as well. So you can. Yeah. But that's something that we are looking into as well, because we heard that from customer. For most of the use cases, it's fine to have it asynchronous. For example, when you have a meeting and you just want to be able to search it later, or when you have VOD content and you want to be able to subtitle it, or you have like the call center use case where you want to run analytics on your calls. Yeah, if you can get the live, yeah. Yeah. So I can see use cases where it makes sense to have it synchronous or streaming based, essentially, like you see it on the TV, basically where they subtitle it. Yeah. At the moment, not supported, but that's an interesting use case. Okay. So the way Transcribe works at the moment is, as I mentioned, it's asynchronous right now. So you feed the audio into the system. You just essentially you create a job and you point to the audio in an S3 bucket. Then we run our deep learning speech recognition against that, and then the transcription will be provided onto either your bucket, or it could also be an Amazon bucket that you then get access to, or to the file. You don't get access to the bucket, but you get access to the file, to the output of that. Cool. Let me walk through a quick. So Transcribe, I think, is a easy to grab service. Let me go through a quick use case, which is like this is an example from a customer call center conversation. It's like somebody calls to. So Harry calls to reschedule his flight, and he was hoping to get an update. And the customer call center agent sees that he's a platinum member and that there's a seat available. So obviously he's very happy with that. And when we run this through Comprehend, then we get the entities. We can see it's about Harry. It's about Seattle, first class, So that's an indicator and a seat number. And the key phrases, so we understand that it's a flight, it's a seat upgrade, and that he's a platinum member. And then we see that he's very happy when we run the sentiment analysis on this. And this is basically the analytics that we can get from a specific call. So we know the context of the call just by using comprehend after we process it into a text file. And we know that the customer is happy, which is great. If we run analytics on that data set, if we have lots of calls and see that the customer satisfaction goes down, that's definitely something that we want to address. So that's important information. We do have customers using Transcribe, obviously. One customer is Echo360. What they do is they are a video platform that provides their customers with streams from instructors. So they want to be able to easily have that content, basically the spoken word, searchable. So they want to be able to easily basically have their students find the content. And they also want to have the subtitles because they need to make this content available to audiences that may not be super familiar or super in that language, or they want to be able to basically have that for people that may be blind. So they use Transcribe for those use cases, and they are very happy with that. So that's something that they would have to build on their own essentially if they didn't use Transcribe, and Transcribe makes it very easy for them to do that. Okay, are there any more questions on Transcribe? Otherwise, cool. Yeah, YouTube I have not seen personally. Doesn't mean that somebody doesn't do that. So when you, I think that we use it internally as well. So with an Amazon. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, sorry, I forgot to repeat the question. So the question was if I've seen use cases where people want to transcribe YouTube videos. Yeah, or Amazon Prime. Yeah, we definitely have customers who do VOD content, and I can get you some references for those. I mean, this is one reference, but there are many who do that because that's a very good use case for Transcribe to do that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the comment is Prime should be open up for yeah. Netflix and there was a comment about Netflix doing that. So Netflix is actually Netflix is actually a great AWS partner. So yeah. Oh, they did not? Ah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's an interesting comment about Prime. Maybe I can feed that to the Prime team. In general, AWS, when you look at AWS, over the past years, I would say, there's more and more content coming up in open source, more examples to make it easier for other developers to contribute back. So you can see that. So you're good.
Is there a mechanism to refine the transcription process or provide feedback or
So the question is there a mechanism to give feedback on the actual transcription? So what you can do is through custom vocabulary. What do you want to do? Like,
so for example, the audio that I uploaded earlier, the transcription on, it didn't correctly identify a word. Like
one specific word?
Not English.
Mm-hmm.
But I can easily go back and correct that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So my WebVTT file is off.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay, yeah. So the customer experience was that uploading an audio file did not correctly transcribe one specific word or a couple of words. I can show you an example where I used the custom vocabulary to basically train it to some degree. I mean, you can always look at the output, look at the confidence score, see if the confidence is below a certain threshold, then you may want to manually look at that and check if that's correct. High? High? Just high? Yeah. Just high? High? High score?
Yeah.
High score.
It was wrong.
It was wrong. So the transcription was high score,
Right.
but the word was different?
Right.
Oh, okay, good. What was the word?
Undefined or something like that.
Undefined, okay, yeah. I can show an example. So when you're interested in that, I can show an example. I think we have enough time later. So I can show you how custom vocabulary does impact the actual translation. Cool. Anything else? Transcribe? Questions? Cool. By the way, it's a pay by the pay by the audio length actually. So and there's a free tier with is it 1 hour? I think 1 hour is free. So when you want to just try it, you can transcribe 1 hour every month for free for the first 12 months. That's part of the free tier, and it's just fun to try out, I think, as well. Cool. Yeah. Get started. Just go to this, transcribe, or select the service in your AWS account. Translate. What Translate does is, you can guess. So what does it do? Nobody? It translates. Hey, this is actually an AWS service name where you can really understand what it's doing. So it translates into different languages. Translates based on text. So you feed it text, output is text as well. And that's important. Yeah. That's a good question. I'll get to that. So the translation is actually you can go from English to many, and from many to English. Exactly. Yeah. So it's basically you cannot go from, let's say, German to Italian. You go from German to English to Italian at the moment.
I tried today. I was not able to translate from English to Russian.
Okay, I can show you that. I can show you that later. It's important because you probably heard from my accent. I'm from Germany, and this is a German accent. So in Germany, not everybody speaks English. My mother doesn't speak English. She speaks a little bit now, but she would not necessarily go to Amazon webpage and browse the product catalog when it's in English. So you need to have those kind of translations, and that's actually the case in like most countries. So people are most familiar with their natural language, and this statistic is like 55% of consumers buy only on sites on their own language, and not everybody is like I mentioned my mother, so think about your mothers and so on. Would they buy on a website that's not their own language? Probably not. Sorry? They can, yeah. So. I cannot comment on that. That's not part of the service. I sometimes tried. Yeah, my mother would probably not trust that. So yeah, when you think about those users. So one option to get to that and have your services or your websites accessible by or used by people who would prefer their own language meaning their first language, their natural language, is you hire somebody who does that, right? But it's manual, so you need people, and that doesn't always scale very easily. The turnaround it can take some time, it can take days or weeks. I remember when I did software development and we did localize that, it took actually weeks to get through the entire process. And it costs actually quite some money. Here we state that it's like $150 per news article. That's a lot. So most people would actually prefer to have the content in their own language, even though it would not be perfect. So if you hire somebody like a professional translator, you would expect perfect, right? So machine learning models or translations are not necessarily perfect at the moment, but they're getting better and better. And we improve on our translation service as well. So it's, for a lot of use cases, good enough. And in order to get there, so we have something on Amazon, where Amazon.de, for example, is obviously in German, and you can select different languages there. So for Amazon, for .com, for the retail branch, it would be hard to provide translations for our product catalog in all languages in all countries where we are. So that would be hundreds of billions of words, and that would be probably not financially feasible to do that. So we have the product listing descriptions, web strings, functional content, the personal communication with the seller support through emails, the product documentation, and so on. And with traditional machine learning, so traditional machine learning meaning that you run statistical models on that, where you basically look at the word and then let's say the English word, and then you try to find the matching word in another language, let's say French, for example. So you run statistical models on that, try to find the probability. What those traditional machine learning models did not take into account was like the context. So they didn't understand the context in which that word did appear necessarily. So that was okayish, but I think maybe you've seen some jokes about like getting an English transcription of a manual that was originally in Chinese. So you get those kind of funny things, and it's completely not understandable in some cases. It gets better with, or much better with Neuro machine translation, because there you take the context in which the word appears into account as well, which makes for better translations. So you not only have the mapping of the words necessarily, so it's simplified, there's more to it, but you get a better understanding. It's not that necessarily the machine understands what it's about, but the words are put more into context. So that did show much better results. One example is here. That's from the German Amazon.de actually site. And this is a Swiss knife. I don't know, are those, do you know those here in the US as well? Yeah. I remember wanting, as a kid, I wanted to have one. I didn't know exactly why, but maybe I thought I can use the saw to cut a tree or something like that, but it looks so powerful. So I wanted to have one. This is one of the, I'm not even sure, but that will fit into a pocket. But yeah, so somebody bought it. I don't know who came up with this example, but so this is the German text. I can read it to you, but we just look at the transcription there. And it's sometimes Germans are a little weird. So he basically is saying that he had something hanging between his teeth, and he didn't have a toothpick. So what does a German do? He orders this knife. Yeah, pretty ambitious. And he said he can only comment on the toothpick for this on this knife because he does not need the other functionality there. But it's cannot tell nothing, unfortunately, because him not be emergency. I don't think that's a good translation. So let's look at the Amazon Translate version. And this is the Amazon Translate version. And I can't say anything about the rest because I don't need it. That's much better, obviously. That's a translation that makes sense to a person who speaks English. Cool. And I'm gonna show you. I can show you a little bit Translate, and depending on how much time you have, I definitely want to show you the Transcribe one, the example that I have there. So we use machine learning based a model for the translation. It's great to generate content. You can use it to make it easier for your customers to search the website. So you may want to have somebody look at the text, probably. When it comes down to like regulatory filings or like court documents and anything that has legal binding, you definitely want to take a look at that because it's good. We are pretty happy with the service, but it's not like perfect. So it's a good starting point for content that let's say where you just want to make it available to non-native speakers. It's a great service, I think. So you can definitely do that. The features include, like you were asking for the languages, so English to those languages and back. So from Russian should be on there. Russian. Let me check on that. You mentioned Russian. I know you. Yeah.
I wasn't able to choose Russian as the target language.
Ah, okay, cool.
Only English.
Yeah, let me take a look at that. Yeah, because it should work. Yeah, and I know German works for sure, and French and Italian. Cool, and vice versa. And you can translate plain text, as we mentioned. This is real time compared to like the transcribe service, which is asynchronous. So the latency should be below 500 milliseconds. So that's reasonable in most use cases. It does native language detection, so you can feed it text, and it will, with a pretty high accuracy, identify which language it is. And then it's easy to integrate. It's just a service endpoint that you call, AWS service. You know how that works. And it's highly secure. So communication is over HTTPS, and the content is therefore encrypted in transit. Cool. Okay, here, let me go to the customer review one. I'll just show you a website. Let me check. Come on, let me exit this. Okay. So this is a sample website that we set up. I hope my internet is fast enough. Yeah, okay. And you see it's an English website with vintage vehicles. And there are comments from customers on those vehicles. And we just added this simple translate button there. This is English. Let me translate this into, let's say Russian. So you speak Russian? Yeah. Okay. Let's see if this is does this look like a good translation for this? I cannot even tell. Is this okay?
It's understandable.
It's understandable? Okay. Okay. We need your feedback. Cool. Let me try the German one, because I know the German one. Yeah, the German was okay. The German was pretty good, actually. So, yeah. The German one is good.
Simplified Chinese.
Simplified Chinese? Okay.
Let me
Yeah.
Very good.
Very good, yeah?
Very good.
There you go. Russian seems to be hard. Cool. Okay. Nope. Obviously, you can do more with the other languages. Cool. Yeah. So, and that's pretty easy. And with this, I think translate. I think we have 2 million characters free. So if you want to try it out, there's a free tier as well. 2 million characters. I don't know. As a reference, I don't know. I think the Bible has like 3 or 4 million or something like that. So it's a lot that you can transcribe and translate, and that's very easy. So let me just jump into this. So I have another example here, because we have some time. I think we still have some time. Let's see. Yeah, cool. Any questions to translate before I show you something? Okay, cool. If you want to try out translate, the easiest is just to go to the console. Let's try the Russian one. I don't have any Russian text, but first I can try to target English, and then. Okay. So from English, let's see. From English to Russian. That should work. Yeah, okay, there we go. That does do something. So I was just typing in some German text before in order to test it. But it's always hard because, like, in the audience, I don't think we find a common ground of 2 languages that everybody speaks, I would guess. So cool. Okay. The Russian? So you speak Russian too? Oh, I'm surprised. How many Russian speakers do we have here? Like 2? Cool. Yeah. Okay. I remember Russia now for primarily because Germany got kicked out of the World Cup so early. I was very disappointed, but you did very well. So, yeah. Yeah, bad memories from the summer. Okay, let's go on here. No crying. So what I did was for transcribe. This morning I was just looking for some content, and this is the announcement from. I hope the audio works. From Transcribe here in San Francisco when we announced that Transcribe is going GA.
So we announced Transcribe and Translate reInvent in December last year in Las Vegas. They're currently in preview. And today I'm very pleased to announce that we're making Transcribe generally available. So it's available now to all customers. This includes the ability to be able to add custom dictionaries to your speech recognition systems. This means that you can add your product names to make sure that if you're transcribing the call from a customer call center, you're getting the products right. Or to add disease states so you can get high accuracy on the domain that you're transcribing in.
Cool. So I took this video, extracted the audio, and then I ran it to Transcribe this morning. Because I wanted to have some, more good transcribe stuff. Let me look. So this is the first one. So I just took the audio, I used FLLC as the format. This is basically the job. You see, this is the, let me make that a little bigger. This is the link where I put the flag FLAC audio here. And ran the job because it's asynchronous. There's a status, it's completed. This is the actual transcription. It's not bad. So we announced transcribed and translated reInvent in December last year in Las Vegas. Just okay-ish, but I mean, this has a not super high confidence score, 83%, and translated only 65%, which is understandable because that's not what he actually said. Currently in preview and so on and so on. I was struggling with this, or to add disease states so you can get high accuracy. But I listened to the audio again and again, and that's what I don't know. That's what he says, right? Yeah.
Right, if you're in a medical context.
That makes sense. Yeah. I looked at the transcription and I was like, really? These states? There must be an error. But it was so confident, and yeah, that's what it said. And it makes sense, yeah. So then I ran it again using a custom vocabulary because I saw that transcribed and translated is not what he actually said, and the confidence score is not high. And that's really the only thing I changed. I ran it with a custom vocabulary. You see it's the same input URL. I just applied a vocabulary. And creating a vocabulary is super easy. You just go in there and you upload a text file or a CSV. Oh yeah, I think I still have it open actually here. Yeah, that's all. That's all I have in there. Let's see. And let's see what the transcription looks like. Yeah. It did transcribe, translate, high accuracy, reinvent. Now it's 100%. I didn't look at the rest actually, but I have to say I was impressed. So just adding this, and the result was much better. Yeah. Sorry, the custom vocabulary is.
I saw the initial. I saw that you have to add the sound bit, like
Okay. No, it's not. It's so it's two different things. So one is the audio that you need, because that's the core of the service. That what the service does. It takes audio and identifies the text in the audio file and spits out a text file with the audio. What the custom vocabulary does it enriches the model that does the translation. So it will prioritize those words, or will be smarter on applying a probability for those words in the context of the speech. That means now, because I told it, transcribe and translate are words that are most likely in the audio. It could identify those much easier without that information. Okay. Phonetics zum Beispiel, for example, yeah, phonetics, yeah. I don't think custom vocabulary will help you in that regard. That's something when you see that because of the accent, that transcribe does yield to results that are not good enough for your use case, then let us know, I would say. Then reach out to us through the sales rep or the other channels. And then we'll definitely look at that. Yeah. Cool. No, the supported formats are FLAC, MP3, WAF, and MP4, I think. So MP4, I'm not sure, but I don't think so. Yeah, you can usually no AAC support, I think. Yeah, let's check. That's easy to check. So the way you create a job is just going here, create a job, and then you can choose a format. And these are the formats that are supported: MP3, MP4, WAV, FLAC. But there are lots of tools out there that would allow you to extract the audio from video, and also to convert from one format into the other. So I mean. Yeah. The question is, what does a custom vocabulary look like? Yeah, just keywords. It's like this. This is my custom vocabulary file. When you create a custom vocabulary, that's what you upload. You can also have CSV, so I could have like commas there instead of like the line breaks. Yeah, exactly. And I think maximum size of keyword is 256. The maximum size of the custom vocabulary, it's like in the higher kilobytes range, I think. Yeah, cool. So you had a question as well?
If there is a dialogue, you can understand which person said something.
Oh yeah. So let's say an interview situation where on the left audio channel you have one person, on the right audio channel you have the interviewer and then somebody else who gets interviewed. Then you can assign to each channel a person, or you can also let Transcribe try to identify the people who are talking, which is less accurate most likely, but yeah. Sometimes you will need that, right? So let's say conferences, when you have multiple people dialing into a conference, if you have an audio file that has multiple channels, then you can identify the people who are talking.
But sometimes you have a few persons on one side and
Yeah, that's when you need the other one. Yeah, cool. Okay, there's another question. Yep. Sorry, I didn't fully. So. Ah, okay. Okay, so the question is, what if you have, the question is regarding the custom vocabulary, and it's about what if I would translate it in there as well, right? In the same custom. Yeah. Okay. So so in the initial transcription, there was the word translated instead of translate, and the question is, what if I add translated to this file? Yeah. Yeah. But so the question is, what happens if you have translate and translated in the audio, and you only provide translate in the custom vocabulary? So all that the custom vocabulary does is basically gives those words higher probability. That does not mean that everything that is said and sounds like translate or translated will be transcribed to this word. What all we did was basically tell it there is this word called translate. So when you hear translated or translate, then give it a higher probability essentially. So what in the announcement what was said was translate, but the system did identify it as translated because it had a higher probability before in that context. But now we did provide it with translate. So when you say translate, let's say the example sentence, translate does translate to different languages. I'm not sure what it will say, but I translated using translate. I think it would still, depending on how well you pronounce it and so on, it would still transcribe it as translated to translate. So it's not like a regex or something like that. That's not what it does. Yeah.
What it means, even though the word may be used. We have a lot of, we call it not slang, but terms people use in special purpose dialects. And literally, you can tell by the grammar around it. For an NLP and other types of mining around language to get inferred meaning is what he's talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. That's exactly what it does. So it's not a regex or something like that where it basically replaces it. It's just pushing those in the model to a higher probability because we know that those words will appear, and if it sounds similar to those words, then we'll use those. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Cool. More questions? Translate, transcribe? Cool. Okay. Thank you very much. And it's free tier, so you can just try it out, translate something into Russian, into your language. Thank you very much.